Well, hi, everybody, and welcome back to Cleveland Cavaliers basketball coverage on FanNation. This is Cavs Insider, and we're glad to have you along with us. This is Jon Rudder. I'm Brendan Gulick, and this is our daily podcast on Cavs Insider. We are at Cleveland Clinic Courts here after practice here this morning. It's the second of two-a-days this week for the Cavs, so they are going to be back on the floor again tonight. Right around 5 o'clock Eastern time. But we did have a chance to visit with head coach JB Bickerstaff, and with two guys we certainly expect a lot from this year, Evan Mobley and Caris LeVert. So we're going to touch a little bit on our conversations with them as well. You can find us on our social media channels at CavsInsider_FN. We'd certainly appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our YouTube channel since it's a new channel. And you can find this podcast posted in audio-only form wherever you like to find your favorite podcasts. We will eventually here pretty soon be doing these streams live, not just recorded after the fact. And we'd love if you'd interact with us. So that's the homework off the top. In the meantime, I thought it was a good day, and Coach Bickerstaff talked about their intensity on the defensive side today in practice. What a shock!
Yeah, right. Exactly. They are running. He's be very clear about that. Like, we're doing full-on old-fashioned sprints. He wants his guys to be in shape this year. He feels like that's going to better prepare them for late in the fourth quarter, late in games. And I think that that's something that he's certainly making an attempt. We talked about the beep test earlier. Now we're talking about sprints. So the message is loud and clear that JB wants his guys to be in shape here and during this camp.
I would think that if they are in shape, obviously it sounds like an easy thing
Everyone
to say.
Is in shape,
right? But the idea that this is not a well-weathered team. They're young guys that, if they're healthy, getting in shape and staying in shape shouldn't be an issue for them. And that absolutely could be part of their core DNA, wearing teams down late in games, especially with the tempo and the intensity they want to play with.
Yeah, you just kind of took the words right out of my mouth. This is a team that plays a little bit different brand of basketball than we're kind of accustomed to seeing in the NBA. Aggressive defense. They push the tempo on the offensive side of the floor. There isn't a whole lot of like Darius taking 10 and 15 seconds bringing the ball down the floor. Like if there's a miss, these guys are rebounding it and they're trying to go. And Evan Mobley talked about this today. He might be one of the guys pushing the ball this year,
which could be really fun to watch.
Right? I know.
And obviously strange. You don't see too many 7-footers racing up the floor. Maybe that's the perfect place to start talking about Evan and some of the comments that JB Bickerstaff made. I don't think it's too much pressure, but he was, and JB said, we don't want to put too much pressure on him, but as Evan can elevate his game, we can achieve our goals. That was essentially the mantra from JB Bickerstaff. It's like, we talk to him all the time about, you have a skill set that a lot of guys don't have, and your ability to play fast, to control the ball, is going to help us be a totally different team.
Yeah, his size obviously is the biggest thing that stands out to you, but we mentioned that this is a guy that's going to potentially bring the ball up at times this year. He has talked about working on his shooting, and he said during media day, and it alluded to it a little bit today, that you're going to see him on different parts of the floor this year. He was very comfortable at the elbow. That was kind of where he set up shop during his rookie year. And now he's starting to expand that game. So when you're able to add that element to a roster that features Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen down low, and then whoever that fifth person could potentially be, I think that's going to really open up things and allow the Cavs to push the pace. And teams always like to say, we want to play on our terms. We want to dictate the pace. Having a guy like Evan Mobley certainly allows you to do that.
Well, and how many teams put a certain lineup on the floor knowing like, hey, we're going to play with more size, which inherently most of the time means we're going to sacrifice some pace. That's not the case with this group. And again, like, I think it shouldn't be lost about how rare that is to do that at a high level. And it's something that all three guys we talked to today certainly said, like, hey, we know we can use this to be a strength for us. We've got to be in good shape. We've got to be able to be the better fit team in the fourth quarter. And we're not going to be afraid to put the ball in tight spots in our big guys' hands because we know they can handle it.
And I think was it you that asked, what is Evan's favorite spot to have the ball in a big moment? And he gave the Evan Mobley answer. Like, he's so soft spoken. There wasn't a whole, he's like, I like doing it all. Like,
have you met a more gentle giant?
He does. He did say he likes getting a big block down at the end of the game, which is, obviously always something that Cavs fans like to see at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. But I wouldn't have expected anything less from him.
He is such a kind, soft-spoken, gentle giant. I think the natural reaction when you see somebody as large as Evan Mobley is to think that they have this larger than life personality, this boisterousness, this just general, like, loud, overwhelming type A, and like that couldn't be further from the truth.
I don't want to say that he is unassuming, but like he is very relatable to a lot of people. I mean, he's a guy that it's, you don't have to worry about asking a dumb question because he's gonna just kind of brush it off. He doesn't really care, and he's gonna answer. He's going to give you an honest answer at whatever we're talking about.
Just to directly quote Coach Bickerstaff, when asked what does Evan mean to this franchise, he said, without trying to put too much on him, he's the guy that can help take us to the next level. We understand we have an appreciation for all of our guys, all of the all-stars on this roster, but his skill set in particular can really take us to where we want to go. And again, like, I think they are trying to make him as comfortable and joyful as possible. And Evan talked about trying to ignore all the other stuff that's going on and just like literally live within the confines of this building so that he's only focused on what he needs to hear.
And for him, that's actually fairly easy for him to do because it's not an extravagant guy. Like he's not a whole. We're trying to get some gauging on his interests and what he likes to do outside of the floor, and like
not a
he
whole
likes
lot.
Basketball. There's not a whole lot. Not a big shoe guy, not anything like that. So, look, his focus is here, and I think that it's important to point out also that, and JB has said this as well. Every time they throw something at him, he handles it well. Like nothing has been too much. I know that they are trying to handle him with the quote unquote, I don't want to say quote unquote kid gloves because they're not, but everything that they give to him, he handles. And that's why we're continuing to see his game flourish, and they're continuing to put more and more responsibilities on his plate.
He also said, Evan said about the organization's trust in him. He said, look, it means a lot to me. They talk to me every day about how I can affect the game. I love that. And he said, when asked about how can you reciprocate that, he said, just by doing what they ask and by trying to play the best basketball that I can play. There's a humility about him that's refreshing. You just don't see it from a lot of blossoming superstars. And I think the word relatability that you used really hits home with me, because I think there's a lot of people that are going to watch him play that can get excited because he's a legitimately star caliber player, but he is relatable to an everyday fan and an everyday person. I just think that's really cool.
Can you tell that he's the son of a teacher and a coach? I mean, like two people that'll humble you in life. And that's what, and here he is, like just, quiet, unassuming, and it's great to be here at the courts too, and the guys are
absolutely
back and forth behind us. But good to talk to Evan today too, and hear some more from him.
Let's go to Coach. I think he was asked more today about defense, about conditioning, and then about Evan and about Caris. How about we just go off the top? Your biggest takeaway from what you heard from Coach today?
I think that we're continuing to see the physicality that he wants to establish in this camp. I think that we're continuing to see the conditioning element that he wants to bring and he wants to have with his team. This is where we're continuing to see those building blocks, and it's been enjoyable to hear them when we're sitting in the media room. Like, we're behind closed doors, but these guys are hooting and hollering and getting after it during practice. So
there are no communication problems.
No, not at all. Not at all. And that, that's good for a team that is going to be, known for its defense this year. You got to be able to communicate on that side of the floor.
I think the biggest thing that I kind of building off that, he said, look, this is a group that genuinely really likes each other and they're having fun, but when it's time to work, they know how to flip that switch. And I think that's such a core principle to building a championship caliber team. You can't force guys to like each other. You can't force guys to want to spend time with each other away from work, but you get the impression that like these guys are close genuinely, and you can hear the fun that they're having with each other. and then when it's time to really get after it, it's tough and it's fast and it's loud. But Caris used the word family. He's like, man, this is rare. What we have here, most places don't have. And I genuinely don't think that's lip service, especially with some of the guys that have been other places in the league. You hear that.
Yeah, no, it's not. And I think that it's very easy for for coaches, for GMs, for organizations to talk about wanting to have a good culture, wanting to play. Look, everyone wants to have a good culture. Everyone wants to play the game the right way. Like they don't want to, the Lakers aren't like, yeah, we just want to floozy around for 40 minutes and then roll the ball to LeBron at the end of the game and have him win it for us. Like everybody wants to have that approach, but like these guys live it every day, and I think that has gone a long way towards the success that they had last year. They have a distinct identity. They own up to it. They play like it. And we heard Kevin and Dean talk about it, I think yesterday and perhaps the day before. There's a different kind of competition. Like there's a competition going on out here, but it's not like I'm going to take your job competition. It's like guys cheering each other on. Everybody's lifting each other up. It is more of a camaraderie as opposed to a competition. But
and Evan alluded to that, right? I mean, he said, "Look, my favorite moments are the moments, at the end of the game where he can make a big block or something." He said it's because everybody's pulling for each other. You want your teammate to make that big play. It's not a selfish desire kind of thing. So I thought that was cool. By the way, we did read a comment on one of our previous videos yesterday. Someone was asking about Cedi Osman. Cedi has not been available to us in the media quite yet. But I asked Coach about, hey, what have you seen so far from Cedi through camp? And he quickly said he's been great. He's in really good shape. He's playing well on both sides of the ball, and they want him to be a key component to this team. I feel like maybe he's gone a little bit under talked about or underappreciated a bit just because of some of the other conversations around this team, but I don't think he should be lost in all this.
No, certainly. And I think that it kind of illustrates the level of talent maybe that is on this roster, or maybe more so the level of responsibility that's on this roster. When you have a younger team and a guy like Cedi, he was, in years past, he was a guy that was relied on to handle some of those media responsibilities,
sure,
to answer some of the questions, some of those difficult questions that we asked, when this team was taking its lumps. And now that we're riding the wave. There's Jared Allen here. There's Evan Mobley here. There's Donovan Mitchell here. There are other guys that are kind of commanding the media's attention, and it seems like he's content with that. You just kind of sit back and say, okay, I'm just gonna, this morning I read that comment too before we walked out here, and he was the first person I saw just shooting his free throws.
Yeah.
Hanging out with Kevin Love. Like those two have a kind of a unique brotherly bond, and they were getting a little friendly competition at the free throw line too. So Cedi's here. Looks good, and by all accounts having a pretty good camp so far too.
Let's talk kind of to wrap things up about Caris, right? We had a chance to spend several minutes with him. I think the biggest takeaway is that Caris is trying to change his body. He said basically within the last couple of weeks, he finally feels as healthy as he's felt in maybe 3 or 4 years.
That stood out a lot.
Which is awesome because a healthy Caris LeVert is a total game changer. And we've heard it from other guys, but to hear from him, hey, look, I haven't gone full-blown keto, but I've cut a lot of sugar out of my diet.
Good for him.
Keto-friendly, maybe more than full-blown ketosis. Yeah. I like pasta a little too much.
So do I.
Maybe someday.
Apparently he does too. But he said that was one of the difficult things about pasta and cookies. I feel you there, my friend, because cutting out sugar. He said he has a sweet tooth. I have 32 of them, so I understand. I understand how that goes when you're trying to make those dietary changes. And look, good on him. He's committed to it. It seems like it's working out for him. That was kind of a glaring comment that he said, though, when someone asked him, how healthy do you feel, or how long has it been since you felt this healthy? And he said, it's been a couple of years. And I thought these were significant injuries. And he said that, the ankle, the foot that he was dealing with last year, there were some other underlying issues that he had as well that he really wasn't, diving into a whole lot of details about. So there was a bunch of things that were affecting his play physically. He was thrown into a situation where he was traded midseason, which is always turbulent. And it's easy for us to sit back and see a guy traded at, midseason and say, okay, this is going to be a plug and play situation where he's going to come in here and start to shoulder some of that offensive load. But I mean, I've moved apartments before. It's difficult. I can only imagine what moving cities is like.
Yeah, he certainly acknowledged, hey, you guys knew I was dealing with a foot and an ankle injury, but there were some other nagging things, underlying things I just didn't really want to make public. And even today, after they are apparently part of the past, he just didn't want to talk much about. But it just felt like he's kind of hit the reset button. The health is not a problem anymore. His fitness is in really good shape. He said, I did a lot of sprinting and long runs over the summer. I feel like I'm ready for the start of camp and for the start of preseason play. And look, for a position on the floor where there could be some rotation between who that starter is at the 3 role, but certainly whether he's starting or not, Caris is going to be a part of this. I think it's important that he feels like, hey, I'm at the top of my game here at the start of the season.
Yeah, I think he said today that maybe last year he questioned some things, what he was doing, maybe with the ball in his hands, and that's not a position that you want to be in.
Sure.
Athletes always talk about confidence. Anytime that you ask an athlete, how do you feel about this? How confident are you with this? 11 times out of 10, their answer is, yeah, I'm very confident. But for him to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit and say, look, there were some times where I wasn't necessarily trusting myself. Part of it was my health. Part of it was the situation that I was in. Feels completely different now. And I think that is just going to go a long way towards having him, flourish into a role here on this team.
Cavs are 1 week away from playing their first preseason game, actually inside a week. Today's Thursday. It's this coming Wednesday. They're going to be in Philadelphia, and obviously there's 4 preseason games plus the wine and gold scrimmage on Saturday the 8th. So that's coming up in about a week and a half. We are not far away from seeing what this team's going to look like in competition more than just running through drill work and trying to be intense on the floor. But you can feel the excitement and the energy in here, especially toward the end of practice. It's not fabricated, man. Guys are legitimately having a good time and still pushing each other.
If you need some of the proof, listen to usually JB is when JB's talking, there's still guys out there on the floor. If you need some of the proof, listen closely to what's happening in the background, and you might get a little sneak peek about how hard guys are going even after practice is wrapped up. So once the work's done here between the lines, they're still out there getting extra shots up.
Yep, love it for sure. All right, that'll wrap up our coverage here for Cleveland Cavaliers basketball on Thursday. We will continue to bring you the latest on the Cavs as they continue to get ready for the season. They do have a second practice tonight, but that is closed to the media. They'll practice at 5 o'clock, and then tomorrow and Saturday they will be on the floor from noon until 2:30. We'll be back here tomorrow to tell you what's going on and bring you all the latest from the guys that we get a chance to talk to, and we'll continue to preview the season along the way. In terms of our coverage, Saturday's a big day because that's the day we officially take over CavsInsider.com, and we'll start supplementing some of our video and audio content with some written stuff for you. So we hope you'll check that out, CavsInsider.com. We're part of the Sports Illustrated Media Group on the FanNation Network. Again, our social media channels at CavsInsider_FN. John and I are both on Twitter as well. You'll hear from Spencer and Adam and Tommy along the way. You can check them out on a couple of our earlier podcasts.
They've got some stories backpiled already.
They do. Yeah, we're going to have some stuff posted right away on Saturday. So that'll be great. But look forward to having you with us. And thanks for making us part of your Cavaliers stop as you try to follow this team and they try to chase an NBA championship. Okay, for Jon Rudder, I'm Brendan Gulick. Thanks for tuning in to the Cavs Insider Podcast. We'll see you back here in Independence tomorrow afternoon.